Alright, so in this lesson we're going to be looking at price elasticity, right? I'm not going to go into specifically of demand or supply, but just understanding what price elasticity is. Yeah, forgive me, I'm a bit bad at my spelling, right? So price elasticity is the responsiveness of quantity supplied or demanded to a change in price. So what effect does a change in price cause to the change in demand or supply, or change in supply, right? The triangle just means change, right? That is what we're trying to understand with price elasticity. That's what the whole topic is about, right? So we have mainly two things. We have elastic, right, and inelastic, right? So elastic means that quantity changes a lot, right? If the price goes down by 10%, quantity would also change by 10% or something similar, right? Maybe 10% or 8% or whatever. And then inelastic is quantity does not change a lot. Does not change a lot. Change a lot, right? So think of elastic and inelastic as a rubber band, right? If a rubber band is able to stretch, right, it's elastic. You can play with it, you can change it, you can, same thing as quantity can change a lot. If you have those a shoestring, right? A shoestring is inelastic. You can't stretch it unless it's one of those. But at most parts, you can't stretch a shoestring. Or think of zinc. I'm not sure if I'm saying it the right way. Zinc, right? You can't really stretch those material. So it's inelastic, right? The change in quantity would only cause maybe a 2% change in the change in price maybe of 10% would only cause a change in quantity of 2 or 3%, right? And this is irregardless of whether it's demand or supply. Doesn't matter, the same rule still applies, right? So having said this, yes, we have inelastic and elastic, right? And we'll go into that in more detail when we're looking at demand and supply separately. But the ones that happen in both, yes, are elastic and inelastic, but also you have perfectly inelastic, right? Meaning that even if the price changes by 100% or 80%, the supply or demand of that product will not change at all, right? Supply or demand does not change, doesn't change, right, at all. And the graph we would use to describe this is the demand would just be like that. Let me change the color to pop out a bit, right? It would be like that. Whether it's supply or demand, it doesn't matter, because remember, we have our price here, and then we have our supply or demand down here. So supply or demand will not change no matter what the price is. Is the price 10 Rand? Is it 100 Rand? Demand or supply will not change, right? We also have perfectly elastic. Elastic, meaning that supply and demand, there's infinite supply or demand at a fixed price. Right? At a fixed price. That's what it means, right? Meaning that for this graph, we would have our graph like that, and then boom, that way. It would go that way, that would go up, right? So that's our price, and that is supply or demand, meaning that at this fixed price, this can have, whether it's 10 supply or demand, or a million of supply and demand, right? And for each of these, you must always remember that perfectly inelastic means that the elasticity price what is it, price elasticity, yes, price elasticity equals to 0, right? It's inelastic. No matter what happens, it does not move. Perfectly elastic means that the price elasticity equals to infinite. There's an infinite supply or demand for it. And then finally, we have unitary elastic, right? Unitary elastic, meaning that the supply and demand changes proportionately, right? Supply or demand changes proportionately. You'll forgive my handwriting. I'm trying to be proportionately. I'm trying to be fast because I say these things quickly, and then I have to now wait until I write it down, right? And then the graph for that will just depend on what it is. So if it is supply, it'll go perfectly like that, 45 degrees. If it is demand, it'll go perfectly like that, 45 degrees. But irregardless, it is unitary, meaning that if there is 10% increase in price, there will also be a 10% increase in demand, or 10% increase in supply, right? The price has the same effect on the demand or supply, right? I mean, not 10% increase in demand. If there's a 10% increase in price, there will be a 10% decrease in demand. 10% increase in price will also have a 10% increase in supply, right? So there we'll have our price, and they will have our supply and demand. And for that, our price elasticity equals to 1, right? So remember, your price elasticity is calculated by price elasticity is calculated by the change, percentage change, rather, the percentage change in quantity demanded, or quantity supplied, over the percentage change in price. Right? When I say quantity demanded or quantity supplied, it means that you use the same formula for both. Right? You just use the quantity, the percentage. Right? So, for example, if there was a change of 10 Rand to 12 Rand, right, and this caused a change in demand of 4 Rand, 4 people buying to 2 people buying, right? What you do is say 12 minus 10 divided by 10, right? Divided by 10 times 100%. And at the bottom you'd have 4 minus 2 over 10 times 100%, right? There you'd have 2 over 10 times 100. You'll do the maths. 2 over 10 times 100%, and then there you'd also have 2 over 10 times 100%, right? And then the percentage figures you have for that, let me just remove that. Whatever percentage figure you have there, divided by whatever percentage figure you have there, and then you'll have your price elasticity. Sorry for that. Price elasticity, right? That's how that works, right? You have to understand this. You have to know how to calculate it, but also know that whatever amount that you get, what does it mean, right? So anything above 1, let's do that. Anything more than 1, and then anything below 1, right? Anything above 1, let me just zoom in there, make that a bit neater. Anything that is, no, that's less than 1, and that's more than 1, right? Anything more than 1 means that it is elastic. Anything less than 1 means it's inelastic, right? So as you can see here, the closer it gets to 0, let's use something different. The closer it gets to 0, meaning it's less than 1, it's inelastic, right? The closer it gets to infinity, so more than 1, it's elastic. Just think of it that way, right? More than 1, elastic. Less than 1, inelastic, right? Hope we have that clear. So moving on from this, it's now how would you answer an exam question on this, right? Exam question, how would you answer that? We look at mainly the question. I'm going to mainly look at the format here. The format of what you should include in your exam question, right? Number 1, I want you to introduce the topic, right? By introducing the topic, what I mean is that define what price elasticity is. So everything that we've said here in this beginning paragraph here, this is introduction. Define price elasticity. Say what price elasticity is. Maybe say it in a sentence or two, right? Just define what price elasticity is. Number 2, give us the types of price elasticity. Types of price elasticity, meaning that here, what we have here, where is it? It's not perfectly and all that, but it's mainly these two here, elastic and inelastic. That is the two things that we want when you define it. And also on that, you can also add a graph, right? So say that you have inelastic, and that's the graph for inelastic, and explain what elastic is and a graph for that, right? I also explained it a bit there, but yeah, I explained it here, right? So the types here, right? Quantity changes a lot, or quantity does not change a lot, right? If you want to use more formal language, class up your essay or whatnot, you can say the change in price does or does not have a proportional change in quantity, right? So if it's elastic, you'd say the change in price has a proportional change in quantity, and if you say it's inelastic, you say the change in price does not have a proportional change in quantity, right? That's how you classify the second part of that. Now, the third paragraph, you're going to look at the determinants. I hope I'm spelling this right. Determinants. I am not sure about my spelling. I am creating a video of economics, my channel has videos of economics, maths, and accounting. You don't see English there, and it's for a very good reason, right? So what are our determinants in price elasticity? Meaning that what causes price elasticity to be elastic or inelastic, right? And there I want you to give me type of determinants for both quantity demanded and quantity supplied, right? And within that, I want you to look at elastic and inelastic, right? So you're gonna go, we're trying to put a lot of marks into your essay, right? It's for a good fair amount of marks. So in that, have a paragraph whereby you're gonna separate it into two. That paragraph, you're gonna have quantity demanded, and then you're gonna explain elasticity there, and what determinants affected, right? Affects in elasticity in demand, and you'll have in that paragraph a few lines that explains what determinants affects the quantity supplied. So this would be things like your substitutes and how necessary that product is, and how much time that also takes, right? So when we're looking at substitutes, you would say that the increase of one product would cause the increase in price of one product will cause the increase in demand for another product, right? So think of it this way: if you want a hot beverage, so I'm gonna draw my little cup there with a handle. That is smoke, by the way. Also a reason why there's no arts videos on this channel, right? That is a cup, and you can't drink tea and coffee at the same time, right? When you boil a kettle and you pour something into that cup, you either going to choose whether it's tea or it's going to be coffee. So if the price for tea goes up, then the quantity demanded for coffee might increase, right? So more people will be like, I'm not gonna buy tea because it's expensive, but it's still winter, so I want something hot to drink. Let me buy coffee because it's cheaper, right? So you're seeing that coffee demand is increasing. Take that example and apply it to whether it's elastic or inelastic. Explain and expand on that, right? Also, another determinant is the complementary of goods, right? Think of a car. If you have a car and they say to you petrol is going up, you can then say the if fuel, I don't know how to draw fuel. Yeah, I'm just gonna write it down. If fuel, the price of fuel is going up, then the demand for cars are gonna go down. You're gonna choose not to drive your car to work or to school. Rather, you take the bus or you take a taxi or a train to work or to school because it's cheaper. But if fuel goes down, then you'll see that the increase for people with their cars on the road goes up, right? So those things, they complement each other. And also, I was thinking of something, but it got away from me, right? So those are the determinants. Your complementary products and your competition, your substitute goods, right? That's the things that you should include in your essay when looking at that paragraph, right? The next thing that I want you to add in your essay, but remember, this is just my input and what I think you can add or not add. Look at this, use this as a draft, and then maybe pick out a few things and add your own, right? But this is just a rough idea. So number 4, what you can add is the importance to stakeholders. Why is price elasticity important? Importance to stakeholders. Why is it important to the stakeholders, right? And another thing, who are the stakeholders? Who is affected by the information of price elasticity? It is businesses that create these things, the products, and government, right? Businesses want to understand how to price their products, right? Um, if a business understands that the price elasticity of coffee or tea is affected by the substitute product, then you would know that if I'm gonna charge more for my coffee, then people will go and buy tea. So now it wouldn't be smart for me to increase my price by 10 rand. So maybe people are used to paying 30 rand, and then I'm increasing my price to by 10 rand. Now it's 40 rand. But then tea is still 10 rand, 30 rand, right? So those things, businesses use that to price their products strategically. And that's something I want you to write on. The other one is government. Government must understand, going back to the other topic, I think I still have it here. Did I lose that? Oh, here it is, right? Going back to the circular flow model, right? If your business makes more money by selling more products, then you have to pay more taxes, right? So the government must understand that it's winter now. It's winter and people want to buy coffee or tea. So more people are going to spend in the coffee business. So the coffee business must pay more tax, right? So the government must understand price elasticity also for those things, and also for subsidies. They must understand that if coffee makers are increasing their prices, let's say tea makers are increasing their prices, then we also, as the government, we must give more people money. Must give them more money in order for them to be able to afford these things, right? So it's understanding that effect on quantity demanded or quantity supplied by the pricing, right? And then finally, I want you to conclude this essay of yours with a conclusion. Yeah, please don't judge my spelling. Conclusion, whereby you summarize and highlight the importance in real world decisions, right? First, I want you to summarize this. Say it in a sentence. Say in a sentence that price elasticity is important, not just for a business in their decision making, but also for the government and to consumers, being that it affects how they spend their money and all that. And also use an example. Say how the change of bread, the price elasticity of bread, right? Bread is not that price elastic because it's an essential, right? People will buy it regardless of what the price is, being that it's fair. The effect of the change in bread by Albany, Blue Ribbon, Sesco, and all that will then cause government to increase their subsidies for people to pay and buy bread, right? So think research before your exam, like 30 minutes before. Go on the internet real quick and then just research anything that you can find on that, and you'll be done. You're ready for your exam, right? So this is just an overview of price elasticity. We'll go into quantity demanded and quantity supplied and see how they graphs differ on price elasticity and all that.